Welcome to the Ladies Discourse. This is your girl Taz,
And your girl Sha.
and we're your host on TLD. Today's discussion is on child support, but from a male perspective. Child support. What is child support? Some say that child support is money for a child's basic needs, such as food, clothing, shelter, dental, and medical. In the United States, it is estimated that 14.7 million families receive child support. On our show today, we have a guest by the name of Poppy.
Poppy, welcome to the show today. I'm glad you decided to join
Thank you for
us.
having me. Thank you for having me.
You're quite welcome. Can you just start by telling us about your journey of being a single dad and your experience with child
Oh
support?
man. oh, uh, that's a story in itself. Um, I am a single dad of a 9-year-old little girl. I've been fighting for my daughter for 8 years.
Wow.
I was recently
Mhm.
blessed enough to gain custody of her, and things are a lot better. It can always get greater, but in time,
Mhm.
I believe time heals, and kind of time. That's all I can say. Time. You definitely have to have patience.
Right.
Oh, wow. 8 years, that's a long time to fight to get custody.
Yeah. You know, the court system is not set up for us. The court system is more set up for for women. It caters to women. Once as being a man, once you walk into the court system, you're automatically looked upon as wrong. You're looked upon as this evil guy or this evil person. Before you even speak, you're already judged. You're already judged, and that doesn't. And it's not necessarily say if you're black or white. If you're a man walking into a courtroom, a court of law under jurisdiction of child support, you are basically guilty and have to prove yourself innocent.
Right. See, well, that was going to be one of my questions. I was going to ask you, how did you feel about the system, and do you feel that it was, fair? So clearly, you don't see this, nothing about it is just when it come to
No,
men.
no,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
Uh, Um,
Okay.
like once again, like I say, the crazy thing about this is, and I want to say this. I heard the numbers that you actually broke down as far as child support and things of that sort. Um, if nobody's ever asked this question, what if the government took away assistance from women? Do you understand how many kids are actually be homeless or without a parent? How many women will actually walk away if food stamps and housing was taken away from them?
Right. Right. Well, yeah. I mean, that's a biggie because that does supplement a little extra for
Correct.
women,
Correct.
because child support is one thing, but the public assistance is another that kind of gets equates to a whole
Correct.
piece of the pie. Okay, right. Well, that this is going to be interesting. So we're going to have to dissect this piece by piece by piece. So let's rail it back a little
Okay.
bit so we can kind of get your take on it and just kind of see where we can go with it and see if we can get some kind of solutions. So Sha, I'll let you go and see what you have for Pop, and let's just see if we can go from there.
Okay. So in Georgia, can you briefly explain, there's probably some formula that's used. How is child support calculated in Georgia?
Well, it's not only just in Georgia; it's basically through the 50 states. Child support is calculated by both parents' income.
Okay.
Um, Usually the man makes a little more than the mother. So once
Mm-hmm.
the calculations are actually broke down, he's usually he's going to pay a lot. He's going to pay more than opposed to if she was being placed on child support. So
Okay.
not only that, you have to factor in that you have to keep insurance on them. You have to keep health insurance. You have to
Mm-hmm.
keep dental. Um, it's a lot that you have to do, and a lot of us, there are a lot of good dads out here. There are a lot of good dads out
I
here.
Right.
believe that.
But we get railroaded. A lot of us get railroaded. A lot of men just get tired of going through the system and just really give up.
What do you feel when you say railroaded? In what sense do you feel that men are railroaded?
Well, as I stated before, once you walk into the jurisdiction of child support, into a child support court, you're automatically looked at as, you know, oh man,
A
the worst
deadbeat.
of the worst. Like, yes, a deadbeat,
Right.
basically. It's
Right.
nothing that you can say if until you can prove yourself that that, hey, I'm there, I've
Mm,
tried, I've like, you literally have to have Jesus as a lawyer at that moment, you know, to kind of
okay.
save you.
Right.
But it's it's not set up for men. It's definitely not set up for men. And men, we have to go through so much, and we have to contact so many people. And it's a lot of, a lot of times, a lot of people, not just men, people are sometimes just ignorant to the law.
Mm-hmm. I can
Absolutely.
imagine.
That's a big part.
Yes, that is
You-
you definitely have to do your due diligence when you're dealing with any type of court. I don't want to just say child support, but any type of
Right.
court. But a lot of men, we it's definitely not set up for us. It's definitely not set up for us under no circumstances.
Okay, so let me just from my side as a female, because I've kind of experienced
Okay.
that, but from a woman's side point of view. One thing that I've said before, and when I have conversation with men, I've and I get the
Right.
struggle, and I believe, because I feel like some women are manipulating the system, and some women are putting the pressure on men that shouldn't have to go through that,
Correct.
just to be vindictive.
Correct. Yes, that is yes.
How Right. However, on the flip side, I feel like when I have those conversations, because I hear the same type of gripes and same feelings about what men have to go
Right.
through, I always tell them, you know what? I think it starts from the fact that most women are going there. And it's almost like, even with law, like something happens and the event happened, it's almost like who tells
Correct.
first. And I kind of look at it as the same
Hmm.
way. So it's like if that woman goes down there to tell first, especially scorn
Correct.
or have a personal vendetta on that
Correct.
man, she's gonna lay it thick. And I think a lot of women go down there
Hmm.
first, and the system see them more so. So it's more like it does fall on their side. You know what I'm saying? Because I guess the courts are kind of looking at it like, okay, well, it's more women than men coming, or more women are fighting it than men are fighting it. And so it does seem like the meter does side with the woman.
Okay.
And my thing for me would be like, hey, men, there are some good men out there, and a lot of them need to take the time and fight and do what you did to get the end results that you was looking for. You get what I'm
Yes.
saying? And I think if when most men start to do that, it will start to balance out.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Eventually. I don't know tomorrow, but I think eventually. And I think that's what it is. Like you said, some men don't know how to fight the system. Some men don't understand what it is. Some men don't, okay, well, I guess the woman automatically wins. So it's almost like they don't even fight. They just give up before they even really get to understand it. So let me
Hmm.
ask you, um, a lot of men complain about being on child support, but I know you talked on some of the reasons. Is there anything else that you can really think of besides kind of some of the common things? You know what I'm saying? Because some men just feel like, oh, the woman just being nasty. Is there anything else that men talk about that you don't really hear? And like I know you touched on some things. Is there anything else that you can think of that we should know out here?
Well, first of all, I want to touch on kind of address some of the things that you actually brought up, and one of them being, as a man, when there's so much you're fighting. Well, first of all, I want to say, let's be clear, you're fighting a woman scorned. That's number one. That's your first fight.
Hmm.
Um, Now, society has placed, and this is nothing new. A man has always been seen as the provider, the strength of a family. The woman has always been
Hmm.
seen as the nurturer. the one that takes care of the home, and she's softer than the
Mhm.
man, and she's not gonna she can't just do as much as a man, and so society has placed it upon men as to be a man, basically
Right.
wipe your tears away, suck it up, and keep moving, lick your wounds and keep moving, and
Mhm.
and that's what's happened, and that's what's actually happened. A lot of times, you have a lot of good fathers, great fathers, a lot of great fathers. They're fighting a vindictive woman. It's not about him not taking care of his child, because there are a lot of men that do take care of their child. But what happens is,
Right.
once this woman, or once they don't agree with something that we say, or we don't, if they ask us for extra money and we say, well, we don't have it, it goes to, we have an argument now. If you have a new girlfriend or a new fiance or a new wife, she's attacked. you know
Right.
Once she's attacked, as a man, I mean, I don't think no man is going to allow anyone, excuse me, to attack a significant other. And I'm not talking about physically, we're talking about verbally. you know so
Mhm.
if something is said from the man's point of view that she does not like, it becomes two times worse, and it goes twos and fours and six. It just elevates and elevates and elevates and elevates a lot.
So
Right.
when something like that
Mhm.
happens, like say, like you said, a new girlfriend or fiance comes into the
Right,
picture and the mom doesn't like
right.
it, what will she do in that case as far as child support is
Oh
concerned?
man.
As far as the courts are concerned.
Well, I'm gonna explain to you like this. My daughter was born in 2014.
Mhm.
I was placed on child support in 2015.
Mhm.
I was taken off of child support and given custody of my daughter November, let me get this right, November 3rd of 2022.
Mhm.
And my child support payment for one child was 768 a month, plus
Mhm.
insurance and
Mm.
dental, everything else. Um,
Mhm.
being ignorant to the law when I first went into court, which I went into court with an attorney. So you're talking about another $2,000 retainer for the attorney.
Wow.
You have to hold in consideration that the attorney has to travel from his office to the courthouse, so that's another fee. Then if we
Mm.
get a continuation, that's more paperwork has to be filed. That's another fee. So it grows really really high, really really fast.
Mhm. I can
Yes,
see. Yeah, those attorney
it
fees.
it grows because mine, they usually charge 125 an hour. You know,
Right.
so when you go into these courtrooms and you say, hey, you know what? I've taken care of my child, and you've heard stories from a friend, from a cousin, from a brother. So you figure, you have somewhat an ideal of what's going to take place in this courtroom. You say, hey, I know what to say, and and you get up there and
Right.
you say, the judge said, and her lawyer goes up there and he's going to make you the biggest villain there is. Um,
Mhm.
Mm.
and he says, well, he doesn't do anything for this child, this, that, the third. There's no support here. There's no, and you say, well, Your Honor, and then your attorney says, well, Your Honor, we have receipts here. We have receipts from
Mhm.
5 years of this man taking care of his child. And this is the kicker: the judge politely tells you that those are considered as gifts.
What?
That is not support. Those are gifts. This is something that you should be doing anyway.
I
Yeah.
don't understand that. What does that
Well, this
mean?
is what it means. So, for instance, if I have, which I do have a child, I was taking care of my child as far as giving her mother money, you know, to have, and maybe gas in the car to take her back and forth to doctors, and buying clothes, and you buy shoes, and she may ask you for a couple dollars for a light bill, and you kind of, you want to do things without her asking, because you think it kind of helps you out a little more.
So this was at this point you weren't officially
Correct,
on child support.
correct. I wasn't
Okay.
officially on child
Okay.
support, but when you look at it, You have to ask yourself, is it support for the child? It is support for that child. I am
Right.
violent. I am not being forced or held by a jurisdiction to do something for my child. I am doing it because this is my child and I want her to have what she needs. And not only that,
Right.
some men, you know, I'm just speaking from a man's perspective. At some point, as a man, you don't want to see the mother of your child have to struggle because that means then the child struggles.
Right. That's a good way to look
So
at
you're
it.
right. So you try to do a little more, but then what happens is you become an ATM.
Right.
You
Mm.
become an ATM. And as soon as I say no, then I'm putting you on child support.
Right.
Now, some people I have heard them say they rather be put on child support because they don't have to worry about the woman constantly threatening them that they're going to do it. They rather just go ahead, be on child
Mhm.
support, and just pay what they say pay and be through.
You,
How do you feel about that?
um, how I feel about that is this: those men that you may be speaking of have never been put on child support. They have never been.
Well, this person, someone I know, he has been put on
He's
it.
been okay. So, and I guarantee you, he regrets he regrets that statement. It's just like when you're a child and you say to yourself, you know what, I can't wait till I get older so I don't have to do whatever. And then
Yeah.
when you get older, you be like, yo, that was the dumbest thing I could ever have said. I can't wait to be an adult. You know,
Wow.
because what happens is you say that and you spend $10,000 on the lawyer, court fees, and everything, and you get, let's just say, the judge says, you know what, we're going to rule, we're going to give you visitation, we're going to give you, y'all going to have to share everything with this child. You're going to split Christmases, split all holidays. You're going to split birthdays. You're going to do all of these things. You're to see your child every weekend or every other weekend, from Friday at 6 to Sunday at 6. So let me
Right.
tell you what happens with that. So if you have a conversation with your child's mother and it doesn't go according to plan, and when I say according to plan, it doesn't go according to her plan, how can she get back at you? What does she know? How does she get back at you? She keeps the child from you.
Use the court.
Well, no, she
Yeah.
doesn't even have to go to
And
court.
or use the court system
Well,
too.
but at that time, guess what? I have never seen nobody go to court in 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. Court takes time. So
Right. Right.
before you can even get to that step, if I don't agree to give her something that she's requiring or requesting from me, then what she says, you can't see your child. So then what you do, you say, okay, well, I'm going to call the police. I got all my paperwork right here. I have everything signed by the judge. We're in the same county as the judge. Um, you
Hmm.
call the police come, they ask you, normal questions, your name, your birth date, and they ask you, hey, what's going on? And you tell them. So then they go to ask the mom, and they go talk to the mom, and they say, hey, what's going on? And at some point, she doesn't even have to lie. She could just say, I don't want my child to go with him. Why? Because I don't want to. That's why. And the
Hmm.
$10,000 that you spent on your lawyer and the days and the hours that all this, that means nothing. Because what happens is the officer or officers come back to you and tell you, there's nothing we can do. We cannot make her give you your child, even though you have the paperwork. She's the
Right.
custodial.
Because it's family.
Excuse me.
Because it's family. They don't get involved with family
Well,
law issues, custodies and
it's
stuff
not
like
even
that.
so much that is she's the custodial parent. Now, we have a
Right.
judge that signed this paperwork that states that he is to get his child on such and such day from such and such time and return the child on such and such day, such and such time. Now,
Right.
if she doesn't do as told in in your order, that leads to contempt. But then
Right.
guess what you have to
And what happens?
do? You have to file a contempt. So you have to go back and retain your lawyer.
More money.
Yes.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. See,
mhm.
Hmm.
that's one of the things that people don't understand. When you get entangled with the the system, the legal system, people don't understand like you said, whether it's child support or some other type of
Hmm.
case, it's a money drainer.
Of course.
And a lot of
Mhm.
people that are immature, because see, when you're dealing with this whole child support thing, it's really about immaturity, because you have to allow a third party to dictate what you have going on with your children. You know what I'm saying? And I think that is sad. But a lot of times it has to be done because, like I said, you do have deadbeat men and women.
Of course.
But far as in for the men, a lot of it is women being
Correct.
vindictive. I'm a woman, and I know, like I said, I had to put someone on child support. So I can look at it, I can talk from that
Right.
side of it. But when it comes to men, a lot of it is that, they use the children, as a token.
Yes.
This I have the
Yes.
prize.
The child is the pawn.
And
She's the pawn.
right, the child
Mhm.
is that's
Yes.
Mhm.
exactly, and they're gonna use them until they can't use them no more. And unfortunately, like we mentioned earlier, if you're not there first, whether you're putting yourself on child support or you're telling the story or whatever, it's like it's going up it's a lose-lose battle, because so many women have came before you. And we're talking about millions. So when the time they get to your case, they're looking at you like, yeah, you probably are another deadbeat. And that's sad because they
Well, that's
prejudging
what I
it.
stated earlier. Like, as soon as you
Right,
walk in, you're guilty. You have to prove yourself innocent.
right. And that is sad. But like I said, I just think it's one of those situations. Um, Organizations and communities going to have to come together for men. Men are going to have to start, building alliances
Well,
and start to have a say so, because like they say, one person can't go in there and not to say you can't make a difference, but it's better if you have community behind you, because there's a lot of, like you said again, men out there that are good to their children, that are taking care of their children, but they're dealing with a Betty, a bitter Betty
yes.
is what I like to call them. You get
Right.
what I'm saying? So and I think that's the only way it's going to change, unfortunately. You know what I'm saying? You should be able to go in there and state what you state, like you mentioned it earlier about the
Right.
gifts. It's no way that that shouldn't be accounted for. But depending on the judge that you get, depending on how they feel, they don't have to take that in consideration. I know people who have had stuff and they have taken that into consideration. So it's sad that it flip
Mhm.
flops and men have to go through that. But I think they just have, you guys have to come together, start building an alliance, and start doing, having some more pushback, and to even the scales just a little bit. you
Well,
know so
not to cut you off. Go ahead.
mhm.
I'm sorry.
No, I wanted to
Hmm.
ask you, if you were the attorney general in your state,
Hmm.
what are some of the things that you would implement? Just knowing what you know and what you have experienced thus far. Like, what will you implement to help to balance this? To make it even easier for men.
Well, I want to be very clear here. What I'm about to say is not a get out of jail free card. Um, if a father does his due diligence, not just relying on his attorney to express his knowledge or expertise of the law, because sometimes they can miss things themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, money moves mountains in the world of the court system. You
Mm-hmm.
get what you pay for, actually.
Mm.
So what I mean by that is, in all honesty, if men would take the time to actually do some research and studying themselves, they would actually know,
Mm-hmm.
like I found out, that child support is literally illegal through, yes, through the federal courts. Child support is illegal. I don't know how many people have actually sat down and traced child support to find out what it was actually intended for.
Right.
Um,
Well, speak.
excuse me.
People, well, speak, because people need to know this. And like you said, people have to peer more into these rules and regulations, because a lot of times it's not operating how it's supposed to. So
Okay.
speak.
Well, this is the thing about child support. Um, 90% of the judges that preside over the cases really aren't judges.
Wow.
There really aren't judges. 90% of the men that are served the summons for child support through a sheriff. The sheriff comes and has to serve you a paper saying that, you have a court date. You're being served for child support. A lot of times, if you look in certain places where certain signatures are supposed to be, there are none. 90% of the time, there are none. The other 90% of that is the signatures that are on there. They're not authorized to sign certain paperwork.
Right.
They are so.
I forget.
Excuse me.
Excuse me to
Mhm.
cut you off. Excuse me to cut you off. But I think they're called. It's almost like it's before you become the judge. It's a
It's
term for
basically a
them.
RN.
But yeah.
If you're RN, like a RN in a hospital, she's a RN. She
Right.
can't prescribe. She can prescribe you some, but she also has to get authorization from a doctor.
Right, right. I think it's called the JQ.
Yes.
I forget. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
something like that. But it's like before you become the judge, you can still do certain things, but you still have to wait to the actual judge to
Exactly.
sign
You
off
are
on it. So I
basically
can't. I wish we
a
had.
TV
Yeah, I
judge.
wish we had the
You're a TV
term.
judge. You're like a Judge Mathis. You're like a Maybelline. You have no legal power. You have no legal power, and that goes
Right.
over a lot of men's head. We always see as a person sitting back there on that stand in that black robe that we automatically assume is a judge. Once
Mhm.
again, you definitely have to do your due diligence. You definitely have to study. You
And how would one do their due diligence?
well,
Internet searches, talking to people,
talking to people,
all the above.
talking to people is good. I think talking to people is good, but talking to people can also be a gift and a curse.
Okay.
Yeah, you gotta
You have
read.
to.
You gotta read.
You have to
Yeah.
there because one word, just one word can change the outcome of a whole case. One word, just
Wow.
one word.
That's something.
You can be facing, years. You can be facing a high amount of child support, but one word can change the whole dynamics of a case, flip it upside down. But you would never know that if you don't take the time to study. I
Mm-hmm.
guarantee you right now, through your listeners right now, if they were to actually sit down and look at their paperwork when they were first served and just start there,
Mm-hmm.
yes, it would flip. It'll be bad for the court system. It'll be men by the tons coming in there.
But that's okay because we need that. You get what I'm saying? This is the only way you're gonna make, I like to call it, the powers that be accountable for what they're doing and what they're implementing or what they're placing on people that, like you just stated, that it's not
Mm-hmm.
correct. You get what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? So with you having that knowledge, hey, you could just start by taking that particular law and posting it. You get what I'm saying? It's easy as just doing that and say, hey, for the men who don't know, this is what this is. You get what I'm saying? And go from there, because like I said again, I listen to different things from probate to a lot of different things that I kind of listen to about law, and there's a lot of things they're doing wrong. I mean, look at the school system with the student loans and stuff. A lot of that stuff is being um what they call it, forgiven because of, like, with the school system, a lot of that stuff is being forgiven because they asked you on the paperwork when you was filing to get be forgiven, have they pressured you to sign up for school by this particular date? That's illegal. Have they told you this thing and that? That's illegal. You don't know that until someone, like you said, like you did, took the time to look up the laws on this particular
You have
subject. And that's when it Yeah, and that's when they find out, wait a minute, all this time they were saying I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that. Oh man, I remember that school kept telling me you better get in before this time, and you got to get in before this time. All of that stuff is illegal because they consider that
right.
advertising. But we don't know these things until we read, like you just
Correct.
stated. So I think you'll, hey, you'll do some justice for men out there if you just took the time to start
Well,
posting
this is
this.
the thing. You can post till you're blue in the face. Nothing happens until they start to walk. A lot of the time, it's it
Who starts to walk?
the father, the other parent, the
Right.
father. So what I'm
Right.
saying to you is this: the court system. Let me put it to you like this: when you're fighting a big corporation, and let's say you're fighting a big corporation due to negligence and something like that, do you know a lot of times people truly have that case won, truly have that case won, but you know what the corporation does? They drag you so long in court to
You give
till you
up.
give up, and that's
Right.
what happens.
Or exhaust your
That
funds.
that's what happens with most men.
Yeah.
They just give up. They don't want to deal with it no more. They don't want to deal with it no
Right.
more. They feel intimidated. They're scared. You know, they're listening to other people worldly advice, and it's a lot. It is a lot. It truly is a lot because at that moment. What happens is you go from fighting child support to fighting the system. And when I tell you
Mm.
that all kind of paperwork comes from left, right, up, down, side to side, it comes.
Mm.
It comes.
Right.
I mean, it comes. You literally have to have a dictionary, and I'm not talking about a Webster's dictionary. You have to have a Georgetown law dictionary because words change and meanings change. So,
Oh God.
yes, it's
I guess I was just thinking it was more cut and
no,
dry. Like
No,
a
it's never
no,
woman
that.
takes
No.
a man to
no.
court, asks for X amount, and gets it or don't get it, but it just sounds
But
like it could drag on
Forever.
forever.
this
And
is one but it's one title. See, like I said, he touched it on it a little bit earlier. It is child support is just one title of this system. You get what I'm saying? It's so many different other titles, it's corrupted. It really, really is. And like I said, it's sad because you really have to have a team behind you to get stuff moving, to get things corrected. But I don't think you should be discouraged, and I don't think you should lose hope. I think whatever you know, whatever you learn, put it out there, because it is somebody like how we had the Martin Luther Kings and Malcolm X's and stuff back
Correct.
in the days where they took the stand to make a
Correct.
difference. So you never know who's out here would say, "Oh, really? Look into it," or maybe already a part of a group, a team,
Right.
and get the ball rolling, because something has to change. This stuff cannot continue to go on this way, and people continue to be railroads. It's especially men, because we do need the fathers to be there. We do need the fathers to get the love and support, and not to just get so frustrated and say, you know what, the heck with it. I'll wait till they're grown and go from
Well,
there.
I mean, well, then you're touching on the topic as far as the way the system was designed. Now, you're talking about a you're talking about a perfect design at that point.
Right.
The system was made to separate, was made to divide.
Right.
Um, this is big business. You're talking about hundreds of millions of
mhm,
dollars.
thousands.
So
Hmm.
what happens when you're dealing with hundreds of millions of dollars? Your voice isn't heard. You need the masses. You need the world to follow behind you. One, two, or 300 guys, 400, 500 guys. Heck, I can even give you 10,000 guys. You're not going to change anything. We can hide 10,000. They can literally
Ooh,
hide 10,000 because you know what happens within those 10,000? You have to understand this right here. Out of those 10,000, how many truly understand the law? How many truly understand what they are reading? So
right.
what happens is if you got out of the 10,000, you got 4,500 that understand what's going on. What happens to the rest? What if I can't get in contact with Derek over here that knows everything about everything, or Keith over here that knows this, or Sean over here that knows this? What happens? You know what you say? At some
Right.
point, look, man, I ain't got time. Every time I try to get in contact with this guy or this guy, and I get to run around that, and you give up. So guess
Right.
what? Through time, you know what happens? That 10,000 becomes 9,000. That 9,000 becomes 6,000. It's a,
Right.
it's a it's a marking.
It's a wicked game. It is, but I still don't think that's the thing. We're too used to giving up so soon. Even if it takes time, like you said, to get that army, I think it's still necessary. You understand what I'm saying? Because as more and more time goes on, the more and more they become crooked. And I read some stuff not too long ago here where these judges do get reprimanded. I remember reading something where it was like 5 or 6 judges. So I'm not gonna say it's just all hopeless. But I think if you start educating your brothers and sisters out here and showing them this different stuff out here and what and like I said, whatever that little lore is, can they break all that stuff down? Hey, show them that. If it's a couple of different, like maybe 4 or 5 that all goes together, show them that particular paragraph and say, hey, you see this? This is illegal.
Well,
And we need to know
well, you know
this
what? And I mean,
and start building an
in
alliance.
the perfect world, that sounds great. That sounds great. Um, this is the thing. For years and years, I'm an African American male. For years and
Right,
years, African Americans have been trying to tell each other that we are good people. We are peaceful people. We need to love each other. We need to help each other. We need to come together. And guess what? It
right,
hasn't happened yet. This is what we're facing. There's so
right,
there's so much separation as far as looking to see where you can go and what you can do, you know,
right.
but it's hard, man. It's
Right. Well, like I said, man, I get it, and I know it's easier said than
right.
done. But like I always try to tell people, try. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, if it's just simply just putting that those laws up, just keep putting them up. Because like I said, you never know who has the strength, the ability, the know-how to start a revolution.
Well, once again, I don't know if I will be here to see the revolution, but it's one thing about the law. For every law that you read and you find, they make another law to counteract that law.
Of course, it's listen, it's a vicious cycle and it's a vicious hole.
That's
There's like it's a never
Yes.
ending.
So I would tell
You
any
know,
man, any male listeners that's listening right now, please do your due diligence. There are so many laws. We've actually been trained to believe that we have no power as men, as
right,
fathers. But in all actuality, we have just as much, sometimes even more. And the reason why I say we have more power is because if you use what is being used against you, the law, how does the law fight the law? You have to ask yourself that.
With the
How
law.
does the law fight the law?
hmm. And how do they do that?
You can't. You can't.
Right,
It's like
because
telling
they
you right now. The law is you have your Second Amendment, correct? That's that's your law. That's the law. But you take away the Second Amendment once somebody is convicted of a crime. Now, with
right. Yeah, it's very contradicting, But like I said, but that's what they do in all. Like I said, probate. Like you said, the child support, the criminal system. It's all the same. You get what I'm
well,
saying?
it,
They
it
they
is
they use it.
it is in a sense. It is in a sense. But this is
Hmm.
what you have to ask yourself. If we're governed by the Constitution, correct? We're governed by the Constitution. This is what this country was built on, the Constitution. The Constitution says I have a right to bear arms. The Constitution does
Hmm.
not say that I have a right to bear arms until I do something that violates the laws of the land. It doesn't
Right.
state that. It does not state
Right.
that.
Well, see, but see, again, you got to remember when you're being told things versus, like you said, doing your due diligence. You know what I'm saying? That's a big
Right.
difference. See, the world is being ran by manipulation and being ran by what someone said or
Well,
belief or
I
what my,
agree with that.
you know what I'm
I agree
saying?
with that. I agree.
So I think that's a lot of it. So if people like yourself start saying, "Hey, I've read these laws and this is what I found out, and this is what I discovered. And I, like I said again, I know you're not wrong, because like I said, I could talk about it from the probate
Right.
standpoint. You
Right.
get what I'm saying? So it's like that within that
Right.
system. Until people start, like I said, busting it wide open and having them clean this stuff up. Like you said, you can't say we could do this, but then turn around within a second and say that, oh no, you can't. Which one is it? Is it either I can or I can't? You get
Well,
what I'm saying? But people are not challenging them
well,
on that. So
they are at some point. It
yeah,
you become tired. Like there's no other
right,
thing that I can actually there's no other way I can explain it. You become tired because, like I said,
right,
you no longer are fighting excuse me. You're no longer fighting child support. You're fighting the system at that time because that's
right,
what it's going to lead down to. That's what it leads to. Like I said, a lot of judges are not judges. You have a lot of paperwork that are signed by people who have no authority to sign paperwork that we
right.
do not know. Um, you do. I know a lot of, and I'm going to give you a hidden jewel. A lot of people don't even know, in order for a judgment to be placed on a parent, whether the woman or the father, for child support, there are two separate courts for that. Though
Wow,
there are
didn't
two
know it.
separate courts for that. You don't go to
See,
one court and he says, okay, we're going to split visitation, we're going to split custody, and this is what you're going to pay a month. That is illegal. That is illegal. I wish I wish I'm apologies. I wish I would have came better prepared because I could have actually shown you guys a paper from the United States attorney, which he
right.
states.
Well, listen.
It,
Anytime once we, in this show, like I said, definitely submit that stuff to us, and we'll definitely post it or put the information in the description box. You know what I'm saying? Because, like I said, what they say, knowledge is power.
correct.
And if you don't have the knowledge, then you're powerless. You get what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So we definitely have to pass this stuff along. You get what I'm saying? You read it. Maybe a lot of other people didn't, but that's okay. One beats none.
Well, you know what? Fear is something that is very controlling. Fear is
Right.
very controlling.
Right.
If you ever notice, I don't know how many times you've been in the courtroom yourself, but when you're standing in a courtroom and you're standing down there at that little desk with your attorney, and you're looking at this this female judge or this male judge sitting way in the air, and they look
Mhm.
overpowering and they look so
Right.
menacing. Like
Right.
this is what it's designed to do. It's designed to make you feel inferior. This is what it's designed to
Right.
do, and it's worked. It has worked. And what's my thing is this: there's an old saying that why fix it if it ain't broke?
And I guess
Well, it is
really to
broke.
fit
But
to the things that you're talking
mhm.
about, Poppy, like you said, is going to take a long
Yes,
time to fix.
yes,
And I agree with Taz that we need to at least start trying to fix those
correct.
things. But
I definitely, I definitely feel that that it should be something that should be addressed through the people, through the masses. But once again, you have to understand that once we're told something for so long, you start to believe. You start
right.
to believe.
But what I was going to say, like, to fix all of that, that would probably take decades.
Yes,
But like I said, we should start.
yes,
But before, not even trying to fix that huge problem before you even get to maybe getting to the point of child support, like say a young a new couple that they're decide they're going to have a child and they're going to
right.
co-parent. Are there suggestions you may give them to where it wouldn't get so to this point, to the point where they have to go through the court, or where it's not amicable?
Well, this is the thing. Um, when you get that, when you're trying to address a situation like that, you're more so dealing with the matters of the heart at that moment.
Mm,
You,
yeah, and that's
yeah,
tough.
you're dealing with feelings at that moment. I don't think it's right for anybody to tell anybody if this person feels this way. I shouldn't. I don't think it's right for me to tell this person that they shouldn't feel that way. They shouldn't. I just don't think that's right.
They they feel how they
Correct.
feel.
Um, you know,
But it's like, but you know what it is? What it is with a lot of these relationships, excuse me, cut you off, Poppy, it's the immaturity. Because when you're operating from a mature standpoint, you will be able to have these things and put those feelings to the
well,
side.
you know what's crazy about that is this. Once again, that sounds, and in the perfect world, that's I think that would be plausible. But the thing about that is this: when you're dealing with the heart,
Mhm.
man, listen, like when hurt people, hurt people,
Mhm.
hurt people.
Well, the Bible also said the heart is treacherous. Who can know it? So when people say, "Oh, I love from my heart," da, 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 God said, "Oh, wait, the heart is
Yes,
treacherous. Who can
yes.
know it?"
So you know, and
So
I'm a firm believer. Me and my significant other, we were having a conversation the other night, and I told her, she says, I'm just sick of seeing people do this to this. And I told her, I said, yo, people don't hurt people. And she looked at me crazy, like, what do you mean people don't hurt people? I said, no, people don't hurt people. She said, oh, you sound crazy. I said, no, I said, people teach people lessons. People don't hurt people. People teach people lessons.
right, that's a good. That's definitely a good way to look at it because
Yeah.
that's what it is ultimately.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
it
And
is.
I would tell anybody young, when you're young, we all feel like we're in love. We found that one person. And we're all in a rush to get to a finish line. We don't know where the finish line is. To know a person, it takes years. It takes
Right,
years. When a man and a woman first meet, and everybody's on their best behavior for the first week, the second week, the third week, the month, the second month,
Mhm.
and then at some point, true colors come out. So
right,
a lot of times you have to ask yourself, what are these two people? Do they really love, or what are you in love with? Are you in love with his looks? Are you in love with her looks? Are you in love with the tangible things that the other brings to the table? So
right,
there are so many
right.
factors. So when you sit there and you say that, maturity, guess what? We have uh we have elections every year, right? We have officials that govern over us and make laws and help us out. But at some point in the year, we have an election, and they do what? They take off the gloves. They talk about whose mother went to jail and what she went to jail for. And guess what? Are they being mature at that time? No. It's about, you know what it's about?
No, not
It's
at all.
about the win at that time. Nobody wants to
Mhm.
break. Nobody wants to break.
Right. Well, that's why I said that. That's definitely a big part of it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the heart, absolutely, but it's still a level of where you are, in your maturity to me, because like I say, once you do kind of calm down, because you're not mad every day. You're not in that space where it's like, you know what I'm saying? You have a moment where you kind of calm down and you can say, well, you know what? This person is trying to
Well,
work it out.
I
This
don't
person is trying to, be fair about things.
I
You get
don't
what I'm saying?
necessarily have to be
So,
angry or be boisterous when we have conversations or things like that. What it really boils down to? I'm not going to let him or her get one up on me. This
right,
is what we're
right,
talking
right.
about.
Well, yeah, but that's why I said earlier, it's the
This
vindictiveness.
is
You know what I'm saying? Everybody's
that's
got
that's
this.
what it's about. It's not even about, nobody stays angry 24/7. Nobody stays angry
Absolutely.
365. You know, it
That's what I'm
it
talking
comes
about.
down to the point to where I am not going to lose to this person. Because, in all actuality, let's call a spade a spade. We all gloat in victory.
Right,
In one form, way, fashion. We all gloat, you
right.
know?
So
Um,
But it's the
so
type
it's
of
not the
victory you
sense
want to
of
gloat about, though. You know what I mean? What you say, Sha?
the child doesn't seem to the well-being of the child
it
doesn't seem
it
to be the
it
center
doesn't
of
matter
all
at
of
that
this.
point. You know what a child is? A child at that point, a child's a check. A child is a
Mm-hmm.
check.
And if people are fighting to see who's going to get the check.
Child's a check. It's just like if you
Right.
if you won the lotto for $500 million and God forbid you didn't make it. Do you know how many people be fighting for your child? People that you have no idea. People saying that their cousins, aunties, lost relatives. They don't care nothing about
Mm,
that child. I'm looking to get
right.
the
Right.
500 million.
Mhm.
And this is what it
Mhm.
is in child support. This is exactly what it is. It's not about the child. This not I was and when the judge first told me, when they first did my evaluation on the child support, I had almost 70% of the income. I made 70% of the income between me and her. My
Mhm.
monthly support, they wanted me to pay 910 a month.
Mm.
Um, I respectfully, when I heard that, I respectfully, I kind of really like bypassed my lawyer at that time, and I respectfully told the judge. I told him, I said, Your Honor, that's not child support. He said, Well, Mr. Miller, what do you call it? I said, I call it adult support. She's two. What does she
Right.
know about $910? What does she
Mm.
know about currency? Period.
Wow.
So this
So,
is what it's about,
mm,
and it's like I say, it's sad, and like I said, if you were to take if you were to take a lot of things away from women, such as housing and food stamps and government assistance, you would be surprised at how many women would walk away from those children.
just walk
Just walk
away
away
and
because you're you,
not be a
you're
parent.
gaining something from it. You're gaining something from it. If you figure the judge says, okay, well, we're going to give you housing. Okay, now she has somewhere to live. He says, well,
Hmm.
I can't work the hours I need to work to make the money. Okay, I tell you what, I'm going to give you childcare. Well, things are bad out here, and I really can't afford to feed my kids. Okay, so we're going to give you food stamps. Well, I have a child that's pretty sickly. Okay, we're going to give you Medicaid.
Mm.
So, and
Right.
then on top of
And
that, I'm
then
paying
the
you.
then the other one then the other one with money too, because
Mhm.
you got another assistance where they'll give you a check. So and that money has to be paid
Right.
back. So you can get the food stamps, you get the
So then you
Medicaid,
ask
and
yourself,
you can get
how
a
many women will actually stay if you remove all of that from them? If you place women in the same position as a man, how many stay?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
You know, you this is what society doesn't want to look at. This is what no, but these are things that. So this is the thing: when a man leaves a home and the community or the family finds out that the man left, he's usually seen in the derogatory manner. He's seen as a piece of this, that, and the third, and he's no good, and he's a deadbeat, this, that, and the third, right? So now, what happens when a woman leaves the family? You know what happens with that? This is what's said about the woman. She was fed up. She was tired. She couldn't take it no more. Why? Why?
That's true.
Why? Why can't we get the same thing? Why don't we get the same thing?
It's
right,
And
stereotypes.
and it goes all the way back down to you are a man. This is what you're supposed to do. Because why?
right,
You are the man.
right.
Mm.
Like I said, I think with anything, a lot of these things are, over exaggerated and used and misused, just to fit whoever's liking at the time. And that's the part that sucks because, but God does talk about the men and the women and their roles and what he made men and women for. And I just think it just gets so pulled out of proportion and it get misused to, like I said, it becomes so uneven on whoever is receiving the short end of the stick.
Well,
But I think, you stated a lot here. I mean, this type of topic we can go on for
right,
hours. So we may have to do a part
right,
two. You know what I'm saying? I don't want it to be feeling like a rush
right.
Mhm.
rush, but
Maybe another
it's
segment of it,
right.
of the
It's
topic, just to hit on another segment
Yes,
of
it's
it.
because it
oh yeah,
goes a lot
because
deeper. It definitely goes a lot deeper.
yeah, yeah, it's a lot, and we want we want men to be able to speak out. You know what I'm saying? We may even have that. Maybe if you have a friend, maybe we can pick this up where we left. We're going to leave this at today and revisit it because I think it's important, and I think people need to hear the pain, the hurt, the frustration that men are enduring or have to endure be due to the fact of someone's heart being broken or someone saying, hey, if I can't have you, no one will, or you still pay me, and oh, now you have, the list could go on and on. You know what I mean? Oh, you can't give me that extra $20 this month. Well, I'm gonna. No one should have to live like that.
Oh yeah,
You know,
it happens.
and no, listen, I get it, and
It
I'm a
happens.
woman. You get what I'm saying? So I understand and I sympathize for men because I do know that there are great dads
Yes, they
out
are.
there,
Yes.
and they need to be acknowledged. But I also want our men out there to continue to stand up, prove who they are, and go through it like you went through it.
Well,
Yes, and Taz and I started the channel to really share our
right.
experiences and other people's
Mhm.
experiences to help make other people's lives a little bit easier. So I do want to thank you, Poppy, for joining us today and sharing a lot of your story and letting us know some of the things you have gone through. And the main takeaway that I get from your story is to do your due
Yes,
diligence,
one
do
hundred percent.
your research to ensure that you're represented in the best way
Yes.
possible. Anything, any nugget, anything else you want to say to young fathers that may have to go through this that
Yes.
will help them?
Um, the one thing.
Or even if you want to, excuse me, cut you. Even if you want to share your social media or something where you can probably be a mentor. We're big advocates for that. It's like what they said: if you know something, teach someone. Or it's a term that they use for that. But I think it's always good to pass things that someone else didn't know.
And I agree, but at the same time, we all have to walk our own path. And you know, at some point, you cannot rely on my expertise or my knowledge. You have to go and do your own research because guess what? There are some things that I haven't discovered yet. I
Right,
could.
right. Well, no, just what you know. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Mhm.
not saying that they're gonna come for you as a crutch, but it's just informing. It's just like with anything. When we go to college and we start college, there's a lot of things we don't know in college.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? And in order for us to know it, we got homework or we got to study or
That's
things
the
of that
key
nature.
word right
So
there. You just said it right there. You have to
yeah.
study. You have to
Right,
study.
right. But at least the teacher or that mentor starts you out. You get what I'm saying? They kind of guide you and they tell you, okay, well, this is what I know, but I want you guys to go home and research it more, study some more, and then come back and let's have
Mhm.
discussion or turn in your paperwork. So that's all I'm saying. Even though everybody has to bear their own cross or have to go through these life
Mhm.
lessons, it still helps and aid
No,
in that
no, no,
person's
no,
journey.
no doubt. I totally agree. But what I would say to any young father out there, or any father that's any male that's about to become a father, um, God forbid if this situation happens to you, you cannot win a war angry. You don't have clear vision. You cannot win a war angry because at that moment, the things that you need to see, you don't see because you're blinded by anger.
Right.
Um, Now, for the fathers out there who don't do anything for their children, this is not a get out of jail free card. Not if you don't do anything for your child, then whatever that you're going through, you deserve. That's just my opinion on that. You deserve. I'm not going to say all men who are put on child support are on child support wrongfully. No, there are a lot of men that actually need to be on child support. That need to be on child support. And if I was, you asked me a question earlier in the segment to where you said, "What would I tell the Attorney General of my state
Wait, let me correct you. I said if you were
if I
the
was
attorney
okay? I'm
general
sorry.
in your
If I
state,
was the Attorney
yeah,
General of my state, but
what would you implement?
what would I implement? I would implement parenthood. I would implement parenthood. I would implement something with parenthood. I would implement something with parenting classes. I would implement something family oriented because that really what the key is here is family. We don't have
Right.
family no more. We don't have family no more. Nobody, everybody's for self. Nobody wants to come together. You know, it
Right.
the saying goes, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village
Absolutely.
to raise a child.
And
So
that's a good point
yes, like
because there's really, I mean, you're not just born knowing how to be a
correct.
parent.
There's no book to this.
So if there's
There's no rule
so if
book.
there's classes on it,
Yes, I mean,
and
come on, let's be honest.
Well, even before we get there, think about it, Shaw, or Poppy. Think about it. Like you mentioned earlier, we just did a segment on dating, so we may have to bring you back
Hmm.
on that. And like I said, if you got a friend or something,
Hmm.
hey, tell them to join. But you mentioned a key point earlier. You got to get to know a person, and like you said, it takes time,
Let me ask you a question.
but you still have to put
sometimes
that time
You know
years
how
in.
many people?
Yeah, but you still got to put that
You know how
time
many
in.
people are in relationships because of compatibility?
because of
Probably not many.
compatibility or
No,
non-compatibility.
compatibility. They're in relationships because they say that we are compatible.
Oh,
Do you know how
okay.
many?
Yeah, yeah.
There are a lot of people when you ask somebody, say, "Hey, what do you like about him or her?" Oh, they're gentle, they're sweet. I can talk to them. We get along. We're compatible, right?
Hmm.
Okay, that's great. Um, Me personally, I don't believe in compatibility. And the reason why I don't believe in compatibility is because the devil knows what you like as well. So he can make something that's compatible for you as well.
Right,
Mm,
So
right.
the,
that's true.
you have to go, like I said, it's deeper than what we.
Well, whatever, look, whatever it is, it still has to line up so we can get to a common goal. You get what I'm saying, which is the well-being of the
Yeah, I
child.
mean,
And as well as the parents, because like I said again, no one should have to feel like, oh, it's hard and it's hopeless, or the mother shouldn't feel like, oh my God, I'm struggling because this person doesn't want to pay for their child. So it goes both ways, and we still have to come to some form of agreement where it works
well,
out on both
the
ends.
first step to anything, and to get some type of clarity or have some type of correction in anything, the first rule of life is self-preservation. You have to love and know yourself before you can love and know anybody else. And a lot of us
Right,
don't know ourselves.
right.
Um,
So that'll be the
one
step one.
once a-
Step one.
once again, and that's a excuse my language, that's a hell of a step. That is a very big.
Right,
There are so everybody's talking about that we're compatible, but you don't know yourself. You have to
right,
know yourself. Like I said, the devil knows what you like, so he can make something compatible for you. You know,
right,
so to all the young fathers out there that are you know putting in that time and putting in punching those clocks and making sure that these kids have, and even though that you may have a vindictive a child's mother, and you're still doing what you need to do. I kudos to you. I take my hat off to you.
I don't mean to
Hmm.
interrupt you, Poppy, but in regards, I think that's an important thing that you brought up about what the judge said. What you brought your daughter was
Yes.
yes. So how could one safeguard themselves against that? What should they do so that doesn't happen to them?
To be honest with you, you can't safeguard yourself from that, because regardless of what you do, this is what you would have had to do anyway. You can't safeguard yourself, because you're going to have to buy Pampers, you're going to have to buy clothes, you're going to have to buy shoes, you're going to have to do all of this stuff.
So if somebody says, okay, let me just write you a check for five hundred
Hmm.
dollars and write child support on the bottom of
Hmm.
it, that wouldn't have
Well,
safeguarded the
Well,
individual?
well,
somewhat.
like I told you, Sean, earlier, it just depending on the judge, because it's been times where that have
Well,
went through
that
as a form of child
that is
support.
more
Because
so under the judge's discretion. Now,
right,
if we're talking law, if he's going by the law, and if her lawyer or his lawyer fights that, then the judge is going to have to go by the law, which states, and almost all states are, anything outside of being placed on child support those are considered gifts. They will tell you these are the things that you are
So
supposed to do as a parent.
so outside of child support, you mean outside of it being ordered by the court,
Correct. Yes.
Right,
then it's a
right,
gift,
right, right,
That is a gift
even if
because
it
right,
says child support on the memo.
now if it says that,
right.
and like I once again, it's up to the discretion of the judge. Now,
Mhm.
if the opposing
Mm,
counsel doesn't agree with that and they fight it, then you once again we go back to how does the law fight the law?
Right, right. But like I said, but again, Sean, like I said, it can go either way. So again, men don't get frustrated. Men don't get rid of your receipts because, like I said, again, it just really depends. Um, Another thing I was gonna say, oh, I can't even think. I lost my frame of mind. I'm gonna say something. Okay, but anyways, I forgot.
But
Yeah, it's a
it
lot.
is,
It's a lot, and it could be
it
draining.
is. But you
So,
can't think about all the things that think about all the things that you put energy towards that are negative.
all right,
mm,
right,
that's true.
Reverse it.
right,
Reverse it.
right. Well, that's what we
You know,
can do. So, like I said, men, stay strong, stay hopeful, stay prayerful, and continue to stand up.
definitely.
And if you feel that you can make that change, be that
Got to
change.
study. Got to 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 study. I can't say no.
Well, listen, guys, that concludes our show for today. We're gonna have to do probably a part two because I mean we're running into an hour here, and it's good. And I will want to continue it. I wanted to kind of break down some more questions, get some more knowledge on this stuff. So we may have to do this as a part two.
Hmm.
All right,
Thank you,
Shaw.
Poppy, for joining us today. You enlightened me on a lot of things. I'm sure you have enlightened our audience
I
also.
thank you. I thank y'all
So
for having me. I really do. I really enjoyed this. I wish I could have went more into depth with you guys, like I say, and I want to apologize to your listeners that they did give me fair warning and they did advise me that we were going to have I was going to be a guest on this show, and my dog actually ran trying to chase a deer, and at this, I just yeah, so it caught me off guard, and I like I said, I would love to apologize to you guys for one, and to your listeners. But yes, that please, gentlemen, please do your due diligence, and everything doesn't have to be cursing and fighting and just destruction. It doesn't have to be that.
okay.
It doesn't. It really doesn't. Just I don't know what you guys believe or whatever. Whatever you believe, then believe. Then believe. Then believe. That's all I can tell you. I fought for 8 years. I fought for 8 years,
And
and I got
he
him.
won.
And I got him.
Right.
Yes.
And I got him.
Right. So
Yes.
listen, a round of
Thank you.
applause.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. But,
All right.
but
So
I thank you once
thanks
again.
again,
Yes, thank you.
and we will have you on again. We'll think about another aspect of it that we could talk
Right.
about. And thank you, guests, for listening. And as usual, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, thank you.